Hey everybody, it's a party, all right? Come on, let's rock it up. Yes, little Boston to get things kicked off. Thank you all for joining me today. This is my big 200 subscriber live stream celebration, so I want to thank you all for joining me today. And I got a lot of stuff planned, a lot of stuff going on, and you know, even my wife is watching today because as we can see here in the chat, there she is. She's watching from Scottsdale, Arizona. She was out there doing some powerlifting international championships, and she got silver medal. So, you know, there she's now an award-winning international champion of powerlifting. There you go, folks. It's all good stuff going on around here. And I planned this stuff out. I got some good stuff here for you, some fun. You're going to have a good time with it. And so let's get on into it. But before we do that, I got to say I planned out a whole lot of stuff and even some guests. One of which is here right now, and one of which obviously doesn't have access to a watch. But the one who is here right now, you know him, you've seen him, you've seen me with him before. He's the master of artistic design. He is the man behind the creations of The Wraith of God and Garbage Man, as well as plenty of others. And he's got a current campaign going on with Kit Carter. So let me bring him on in here. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Aaron Lopresti. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, James. It's a pleasure. Here we are on this, as we were just discussing, this not quite as hot Saturday as normal, but comfortable and ready to rock and roll and talk comics or whatever the heck else we're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Hey, Heidi. I just tweeted out that we're live right now on Twitter, so hopefully we'll get a few other people in here as well.
Yes, we can get some folks in here. But so what I have planned for today is I got a few things I thought we could do that would be fun. And the first one we're going to get into right here is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, back when we were doing the Comic Art Convo. But you were always afraid because you were afraid of the YouTube gods. For me, I don't have those.
You're going to show clips?
I don't have those fears. Let them come at me. Let them come at me and my 200 subscribers. I dare them. I will fight you. Fight, fight, fight. There you go. That's what we're going to do if they try to take me down for this. So I'm going to give you guys the top 10, my top 10 favorite cartoon intros of all time.
Okay.
And there's even a couple on here Aaron may remember. That's how old some of these are. But
yeah, okay. I was going to say, I already know what my number one would be, but let's see what you've got. And
but yes, so we're going to go through these. And again, this is something that I've said about comics is a great cover. Always get you interested to check that book out. Well, I see the cartoon intro, the music, the songs, the lyrics, the way they present it to you. That's the kind of thing that also hypes you up to get you to want to watch a show. And so, of course, as always, there has to be one that doesn't quite measure up, so it only gets the honorable mention. So we're going to give the honorable mention here to one that, well, let's just say it's like the intro is great. The show, not so much. It kind of hyped you up for something that wasn't real in a way. So, but it is definitely a great intro. It does exactly what you expect an intro to do. It just rocks it up and gets you excited. And so let's go ahead and get this shared. Oh, what? Oh, wrong one.
You teased me with something.
Yes. Sorry, folks, just boomering it up. Since Aaron's here, somebody has to be the boomer. And since it's my stream, I get to my turn. So I get to be the boomer.
I'm rubbing off on you. Sorry about that.
Hey, everything I learned from Aaron Lopresti, folks. That's how it rolls. That's how
you want to be bragging about that on YouTube. Was that not Thundercats? Was that Jim Lee's thing? What the heck were they called?
Yes, it's one of them.
I have never seen that cartoon.
Okay. Third time's the charm. That's how it
That's
always
what
works,
I
right?
think.
Three times. It's 3 times, and then you get it to work. There it is.
That's
All
right.
right, here we go. Now we'll get it this time.
We're good against people.
We're heroes, not zeros. We got what they fear, so here's the fact. So we got power to the max. You know what tough as nails, but all else fails. Call nerves of steel. Here's the deal. You better watch out.
We're good against people.
There you go. Wildcats is the honorable mention. The show
That's
was awful.
That's a groovy tune, though. You know, a
It
catchy
is. That's
little
what I'm
intro.
saying. It's they put all the effort into that bumping intro, and then after that, they said, screw the rest.
I never saw the show, but the intro, it's a hip hop and rockin' little intro.
We got Show Me Comics in here. Hello, my friend. Glad you could join us. Yes. So that's the honorable mention.
Okay.
But now we're going to start getting into the ones that are the actual choices of mine. And again, being that it's me, Aaron knows it's going to be very heavily 80s centric. But it's not all 80s centric. There is going to be some other stuff in here. And in fact, our very first one is one that is not an 80s centric one.
There better be one from 1966 in there. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't know if I go that far. That's a little far for me to go. But here's our next one. It's a number 10 on the all-time greatest intros of cartoons ever. Number 10.
Our world's about to break. Tormented and attacked. Lost when we wake. With no way to go back. I'm standing up.
I don't think I've ever seen this.
Now I'm not alone. Always we will fight as one. Till the battle's won. With people on the run. We never come undone. Assemble, we are strong. Forever fight as one. Assemble, we are strong. Forever fight as one.
Earth's Mightiest Heroes, The Avengers, on Disney.
What
From
year was this? I don't
2010.
remember ever seeing this.
2010. This is when Disney still
wow.
wanted to produce stuff that people could enjoy.
Wow. I honestly do not believe I've ever seen that before. Not even the intro. I've never seen the cartoon, but that was a pretty good intro.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. And it's it's superhero. This is how you do superheroes, folks. This is how it's done correctly when you do it like this.
Yeah, well,
Yes, I remember that song, and it's like, wow, I can't believe it. It felt almost 80s-esque
yeah.
with the rockin' tune. And I'm like, oh man, I feel like I'm back in the 80s watching this. I love this show. I was so mad when they canceled it. And of course, Disney memory holds it because, we can't let people know we have good stuff when we're turning out crap all the time. So we can't let them see good stuff. But yes, there we are. Number 10, Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Well, that's pretty good for number 10. So I'm expecting great things as we move up the list here.
But I will say this was the only one that you could call quote unquote modern. There is nothing else after this. It's all 80s and earlier. There is nothing else.
Okay, all right. Then we're getting a little more in my wheelhouse then.
So here we go with my next one here, number 9. And again, this is one again. I grew up with this. It was brilliant for me as a kid. I mean, this is like 1984, so I'm 10 years old. So I totally loved this, but it's one that you would probably be annoyed with it, Aaron, because it's connected to another franchise that isn't necessarily comic related or something of its own creation.
Okay, is this some sort of Atari Force thing? I mean, what are you doing here?
But the way they did this was so interesting. And again, this intro song, it you may not know anything about it. You may not know anything about what it's about or anything, but you just see like, oh, I gotta check this out. So here we go. We're going to do number 9.
Buckling up my seatbelt.
Yes, that's right. Funny enough, you say that because that's kind of plays into it. But here is number 9 on the top 10. Pole position.
From now on, like your parents were, you are the secret force of pole position.
They're moving real fast, they're the only ones who can get there on time.
Okay, sis.
And never too far behind, they are always fighting crime.
Stop time, man. Ready when you are, Brody.
In the danger zone. Pretty soon they'll be off on a mission.
Hydrofoil mode, Brody. Hydrofoil engaged, Dan.
What's behind wheels? Hovercraft, quick!
What's behind
There's a little bit of a Speed Racer vibe to it, doesn't it?
Sit back and watch them go.
Help, 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 help.
That goes back to 1984.
84, yes. This was part of a thing called Saturday Supercade on CBS, and they had like Space Ace and I think Dragon Lair, and all these ones are like this stuff that's like related to video games. And so they called it Saturday Supercade, and one of them was pole position. And I loved that intro. It's 84. You had Knight Rider was hot at the time, so you got talking cars that can go fast and transform and all this stuff. So it's like it's right. Got the Transformers are big. So all this stuff is conglomerated into this show based on a racing video game. That's the funny thing. Is pole position is just a driving game where you race a car around a track. And they said, you know what? Let's just take the name and take the fact there'll be cars, and then they build this whole world around it of these kids who take up for their parents who die. They're like secret agent type crime fighters who work with their uncle, and they travel around the country in this stunt show, and they go and fight crimes as they're going on tour. So they find out where their crimes are being committed and stuff, and they go into these towns under the guise of being a stunt show, and then go and solve the crimes.
Well, that intro is definitely 80s tunes. I said they could have used this in the Karate Kid soundtrack. I mean, it had that kind of feel to it. But again, you've stumped me because I never have seen that before. I never even heard of it. Of course, I was in college in 1984, so And
you can see from some of the reactions, it goes, these 80 theme songs were sang with heart and soul. You can hear it in their voices. I love that. And this right here is the best. This guy right here at the top, he goes, "Hi there, I'm Mike Persilio, the lead vocalist and the original pole position theme song, TV song. It was written by my friend Levi at Sabat Studios back in those days. I sang a lot of their theme songs. This one, Saturday Supercade, Get Along Gang, Heathcliff, and some others." And then he goes, the lead vocalist on the chorus was another guy because it was a little too high for him. So you got the guy who sang the song in the comments. That is awesome. How much better does it get? And look, here we got some more people coming in. We got Marcus Killigrew. He remembers this. He remembers pole position. Yes.
No, he says, I don't remember this. He's with me.
Oh, he doesn't. Oh, that's right. He doesn't. Yeah. You old guys. I'm telling you, I swear. And he goes, I'll tell you, no, it's not. Because, again, these are just ones I grew up with. By the time Batman the Animated Series came out, I was an adult, so I wasn't really a kid anymore. These are all the ones I grew up with.
Wow. So, wait a minute. So you're saying if you didn't enjoy it as a kid, you couldn't enjoy it as an adult?
I didn't enjoy it as a kid, but I'm saying, it's different. When you're watching it as an adult, it's different than when you watch it as a kid.
Well, that's true.
So that's what this is. It's all about, It's all about what made me hyped as a kid when I was young. So now we come to number 8. And again, now this one you'll like, Aaron, because it actually has a comic book connection to it.
Well, will I have heard of it? We got to get one I've actually heard. Wildcats is the only one I've seen before, or even seen the intro to. So I'm getting educated here, if nothing else.
Well, yes, no, that's always a good thing for folks, is to get educated. But yes, it's this is one that has an actual connection to comics, because there was a DC Comics miniseries about it. So
okay, all right,
and here we are.
I should know this.
Number 8 on the list from 1987, and same year as the miniseries, The Spiral Zone.
What?
Surrender or pay the consequences.
Earth's most powerful soldiers are Earth's last chance to fight the spiral zone. Darkness has fallen on the victims of the zone. Our world calls for courage, peace and freedom. We must own. We will fight on our honor, but it's right. We'll live in, fight the zone. Zone rise, Earth's most powerful soldiers are Earth's last chance against the spiral zone.
That was The Spiral Zone.
Another rockin' tune, but once again, never heard of it. Where is this stuff coming from, James?
I'm surprised you didn't notice the one thing. Our lead hero, whose name is Dirk Courage. That's his name.
Dirk Courage.
You saw him riding that thing with the bazooka, the big wheel with the bazooka on top. Reminded me of the big wheel from Amazing Spider-Man. I'm like, oh, it's like the big wheel. What's that? I'm surprised you didn't notice that, Aaron.
It's amazing how different your perception can be from just like, if there's 6 to 8 years you're apart, and how different your TV viewing is in just that, short period of time. But
and
yeah,
again, in the comments, I love this. Man, cartoons back in the 80s were so fucking manly. I swear I grew hair on my chest at the age of 6 just by watching all these cartoons.
That's good.
Totally classic stuff. I'm telling you, I love The Spiral Zone. It was action. It was adventure. It kind of ended quick. It didn't last long. It only lasted a season. So it kind of ended it at a spot where, like, you still don't quite know, are the good guys really going to win? Because, of course, in the end, they kind of won. But did they really? And they kind of left it open, I guess, so they could continue on. I think they probably wanted to do more seasons, but they only ended up doing the one. And so it's kind of like, oh, that kind of sucks.
What year was this? Do you remember?
87. I believe. And DC did do a 4-issue miniseries drawn by the great Carmine Infantino.
No kidding.
Of this. Yes, there is a 4-issue Spiral Zone miniseries from DC Comics from the same year.
Well, I mean, still, it had a rockin' tune. I'm not going to argue with that. But man, you got to get some on this list that I've actually even heard of.
I think I got one this time, and this one's one of the older ones. This is even before the 80s. This one, number 7.
Okay.
And this is what I know you had to hear of this, Aaron. Even you had to hear of this. Even Marcus had to hear of this.
All right.
So I'm pretty certain that this is one that's going to be that you guys have heard. Again, this is way back, folks. This is like it's even before the 80s. But I was just a little kid when this was. So
way back when I was in high school, before the 80s. No, I was in junior high.
Way back. I was just a little tyke at the time.
Yeah.
But yes, this is a classic. I'm sure again a lot of people should know this. There's no reason they shouldn't know this one. Here we are with number 7.
Battle of the Planets. G-Force. 5 incredible young people with superpowers. And watching over them from center Neptune, 7 Zoc 7. Watching, warning against surprise attack by alien galaxies from beyond space. G-Force, fearless young orphans protecting Earth's entire galaxy. Always 5, acting as one. Dedicated, inseparable, invincible.
Battle of the Planet.
Was that one of the first Japanese imports?
That's one of the earliest Japanese imports to America. It is. That is from like the mid 70s, the mid to late 70s.
I never watched that cartoon, but I obviously am very familiar with it. Battle of the Planets and the characters and so forth. But I don't remember ever watching that. I must have been maybe a cartoon snob. Maybe I hated manga even back then, and I didn't even know what it was.
But no, see, here's the thing: is note this.
Oh,
a little adultness going on here.
A girl in her underpants flipping around. What's going on here?
That's right.
Wow.
That is right. So you see, it's it's a little risque, but see, that's the thing is the Japanese they knew how to tell stories and put in some stuff that maybe was a little bit ahead of kids, but not so much so that it would damage them. And I just love the way they can put adult themes into something and yet still keep it kid friendly. That's hard to do. Not a lot of people can do that.
Well, so you watched this when you were a kid?
Oh yeah, I was like 5 years old. I mean, I was very young, but yeah, I love Battle of the Planets.
Was this a Big 3 network show, or was it?
Oh yeah. Like I said, and this is this is one of the ones before there was a thing called anime. Anime didn't even exist as a word. It was just Japanese cartoons. That's right. What it was. There was no anime as we know it. This is sort of like the progenitor that helped get that going. Is a show like this one.
Yeah, that and Speed Racer, I would think, would have been the only ones that I recall in that time period that were imported.
And well, here we go. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost always here. Thank you, my friend. Glad you could join us. Hey, look, Aaron. Marcus agreed with you. He's heard of Battle of the Planets.
Us old guys, man, we got to stick together. Yeah, but I can tell you, you know what? You're inspiring me. I may do my own top 5 cartoon intros because none of mine are on your list. We'll see, though. We'll see how.
Well, again, you said there's like a decade of time difference.
That's true.
So,
it makes a big difference.
It's going to be a difference. But now we are at number 6, and again, this is another one that I'm sure you've probably heard of this because again, there is a comic connection to it. And again, this is more from my time from the 80s, but I'm sure you've heard of it. Again, this is probably one of the bigger ones I have on my list. You notice I'm not going for a lot of stuff like Transformers or G.I. Joe, the ones everybody watched, everybody knew. Those are the ones everybody knows. I'm talking about these awesome ones that most people didn't notice. But this was a smaller show, but yet it kind of got popular as time went on, and it's become more popular, I think, now than it was back then. So it should be interesting to see your reactions because, like I said, I'm sure you probably have heard it. If not then, at least by now you've heard of it. So here we are, folks, with number 6.
Tally ho!
I know what this is.
Partly metal, partly real. Soaring through the highway of the heavens in their pride. Silver hearts, a rainbow in the night.
Silverhawks, part metal, part real. Silverhawks.
Okay.
Silverhawks.
Again, never saw the cartoon, but I am familiar with it. And it's interesting because I remember when Marvel came out with their Thundercats cartoon, right? And that's what got me to try to check out Thundercats. And then they followed that up with their Silverhawks comic book. And I was like, so what's that? And that's how I discovered the cartoon through seeing the Marvel comic series. So
yeah. But it's I mean, just you see how rocking it was. I mean, because it was the 80s and it was all about rocking in the 80s.
Yes.
You know, heavy metal and rock and roll. That was all. And you know, again, people even notice this in the comments right here. A space cowboy with an electric guitar. What else could you ask for? This show is epic. So I mean, you can't beat it. And I just loved. You know, this was in the same vein as Thundercats, in fact. But I think I like Silverhawks better than I did Thundercats. Thundercats was cool, but this was really awesome. I just love the futuristic designs. I love the whole cyborg thing. You know, dropping those face masks down, just like they and it's just right there. It's just so awesome. It just pops out of nowhere. So cool. It was just like the ultimate coolness of like 80s stuff. And again, look how uplifting that song is when you're hearing that music. You know, you don't see that anymore.
I feel like I can conquer the world.
Exactly, and Show Me better music than a lot of shows today. Yes, they did. And of course, Marcus, bring up a little fun for you, Aaron.
Yeah, that was an episode where David Williams and Kelsey decided to draw the same thing, and Kelsey got crushed by David. I think I drew Thundercats that episode and actually, represented myself pretty well. But they went. Both of them went Silverhawks, and David got the better of them. So,
okay, well now we're going to go on to number 5, and this is another little esoteric one. This is one again most people probably don't even remember, but I do because I watched them all. I watched them all back in the day. I didn't miss a single cartoon in the 1980s. I was there for all of them. So
I'm guessing I've never heard of this one, but here we go.
You probably haven't. Because again, this one is just like with Pole Position. It's from a franchise that is not dealing with comic books. It's another franchise altogether. This one from toys. It was based. The toy came first, and then the cartoon.
Wow,
most times
that's
unusual. Most times it's the other way around. They'll have a cartoon, and then okay, now we got to get a toy line out for this. We got to get this other stuff for it. No, this was the reverse. The toy line came out first, and then they made this show based around it.
All righty, let's see what you got.
Let's share it up. Number 5, folks.
Thundering across the stars to save the universe from the monster minds. Searches for his father to unite the magic root and lead his lightning league to victory over the changing form of Sawboss. Wheeled warriors explode into battle. Lightning strikes.
There's a power that comes from deep inside of you. It's every day reaching toward the light. And you know that's a long way from you. But when your wills get you there, things will turn out right. Just keep on turning, don't stop falling. Fire song, and the drums burning, wheels moving, real love, yeah. Come take a chance, keep on turning, don't stop falling. Fire song, and the drums burning, wheels moving, real love, yeah.
Chase and the Wheel Warriors.
Based off of a toy line. And again, just like with Pole Position, they built a whole mythos around the toy.
Well, you got all those great cars and vehicles. I'm sure they were pushing those hard. What year was this?
80. I want to say 85. I think it was 85.
Yeah, it's got those jamming 80s tunes to it, man. This is like taking me back.
You got the people right here saying it. If you're roughly 40 years old, this is 4 years ago, this guy wrote this. He goes, if you're roughly 40 years old, never drive whilst playing this song. 3 points on the license for speeding. And, here's one from last year. The guy goes, 45 years old now, and this intro still pumps me up as much as it did when I was a child. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what the thing about these songs is. They got you excited for the show. You want to watch it now. Of course, we got to have Marcus bring in some knowledge for us here. Now we know why the government made laws against half-hour cartoon toy commercials.
Well, that's true. I mean, they went through that whole phase where everything was just a big, long 30-minute commercial for their, toys.
Well, and that's how you end up with stuff like on you saw with the Silverhawks. At the end of the show, every show there was like a minute or two where they dedicated where our space cowboy would teach the kid, the one in the bronze armor, a little bit about the astronomy and stuff. And it's like, oh, we got to throw in something educational so that they don't come after us. So,
and then go buy our action figures.
Yeah, instead of giving like a 24-minute commercial of just the toys and stuff, we'll do 22 minutes of this commercial, and then we'll do 2 minutes here of like, oh, hey, kids, here's some science stuff. But yeah, I just love the Wheeled Warriors. And again, like it's so, I mean, that guy's voice when he hits the Wheeled Warriors, he's like screaming this, like that total metal voice. Those guys hitting those notes is crazy. It's like, man, did you hurt yourself with that? Did someone kick you? What happened? How did you hit that note?
Well, that was a kind of intro of a cartoon that if I had been, say, your age, I probably would have watched it because it was pretty cool looking.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying. All right, now we get to number 4, and this one is special because it's near and dear to my heart. It's probably the first cartoon that I can remember I was ever personally excited for. Not like watching Looney Tunes or something when you're like 3 years old and you just watch it because mom puts it on. This is a show I wanted to watch. It's like, I want this show. And I was excited whenever it was on. I mean, I was in school at the time, and I would run home out to the kids. The kids were saying, hey, let's go hang out and play. No, I ain't got no time for that. I got to get home. The show is on. I ain't got time for you. And I would run home so I didn't miss this show. The number 4 choice. And again, it's an older one. You might even remember this one, Aaron, and I know probably Marcus does as well. So we'll get that rolling here in a sec. And
I'm ready.
There it is. Okay. Okay. Number 4 in our top 10 greatest cartoon theme songs of all time.
We're off to outer space. We're leaving Mother Earth to save the human race. Our star blazers, searching for a distant star, heading off to Iskandar, leaving all we love behind. Who knows what dangers we'll find? We must be strong and brave. Our home we got to save. If we don't, in just 1 year, Mother Earth will disappear. Fighting with the Gamelons, we won't stop until we've won. Then we'll return, and when we arrive, the Earth will survive with our Star Blazers.
Another Japanese import. I tell you, James.
This was my jam at like 5, 6 years old. This was my jam running home from school every day. I got to find out what's going to happen with the Battleship Yamato. What gamble are they going to have to take on? What plot does the Gamelons have for him this week? I got to see it. I got to know what happens. But this to me shows me.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is yet again another one. I Star Blazer sounds remotely, faintly familiar to me, but clearly a Japanese import, which even as a kid I probably rejected. But so I'm not familiar with this one either, but it did kind of have a little bit of a ring of familiarity to it. So maybe something I
Well, I wasn't the only one
repressed.
that felt this way. Here's Levi Skeen here. He was here in town. Starblazer started at 3 p.m. My bus let me out at 3:10. I sprinted home for it. There you go. You see, I wasn't alone. We all wanted to watch it. Here we are. Here's our old man, Marcus Killigrew. I remember Starblazers from the Arcel comic. Wow, that's crazy that he remembers the comic. But then, of course, Blackjack has to bring us all down. Robotech was better. Maybe for like story-wise it is, but like just the theme song, this is definitely, you can't imagine. And again, look at what they did. They told you the entire plot of the story in the intro. So like if you had never seen an episode before ever, like say you were coming into it, and you missed like the first 10 episodes or whatever, the intro catches you right up, so you're right on page with everybody else. That is some genius marketing and how to produce a show like this to get people to watch it. So even if you're new, you can still get right up to speed.
Good point.
It just shows you how far ahead the Japanese have been, literally for decades, at knowing how to market to kids.
Oh my goodness!
And so when we hear all this stuff in the comic industry about like, why is manga kicking American comics ass? Well, this is why the Japanese have been doing it for 50 years in cartoons. Why do you think manga's winning? They know how to market to kids, and American comics don't.
Well, you might have something there, but I still don't like it. That's all I can say.
Maybe we should learn some things from the Japanese. Maybe they have some stuff to actually teach us. But, so now we get to the top 3.
All right.
And these are all probably a little more esoteric than
You're killing me, James.
Or Silverhawks or anything like that. But these are also extended versions of the song, because they had shorter versions at the beginning of the show, and then there was usually a longer one either in the show or somewhere else. And so I got these more extended versions because, again, you just got to listen to the lyrics and see what they do with this stuff. It's just incredible what they do, because it's they've created like whole songs basically, like you put on an album type song with some of these, and it just really spotlights to me just how far ahead that so many guys have been with this stuff in the past, compared to today. So here we go with the number 3 choice. And this one has a little bit of a storied history behind it, which I'll get a little bit into after we watch it. But here we go.
Go, mighty boy, they're joining together to fight for what's right everywhere. Mighty boy, protecting the world from the shadow of evil and doom. Or champions of justice and truth. So, mighty boy, attacking the tower of darkness with one mighty force. Mighty boy, guarding the planets and shielding the good from the bad. Or courage that shines like the sun. Mighty power to fight anywhere. Orbots, unite. Heroes will never be scared. Bright lights shining together as one. Orbots, protecting the world for me and you.
Hit it, Ono. We've got a date with a hot satellite.
Oh, mighty Orbots, mechanical heroes united to be for you.
I've traced the deflectron to the planet Evilon. Dead ahead.
They're the Mighty Orbots.
Your mind has been poisoned by Japanese cartoons, I think, as a child.
The Japanese were all over the place in the 80s, Aaron. They did
I know they were. That's why I quit watching. But no, again, a nice rockin' tune. I can't argue with you there. Really, captured that 80s vibe. But I don't know. I'm a little concerned about you.
This show is strange because they got sued out of existence.
Oh, really? Well, that one looked like Frankenstein Jr. So,
well, that's not. There is this is actually based off of a Japanese property. I forget the name of it, but it's a property where that the same type of robot they merge into is part of this story that's in Japan, and this is sort of an Americanized version of it because you had Barry Gordy as the Orbot commander.
Oh my God!
Donatello from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He is the one doing the voice of the Orbot commander, and so it's an Americanized version. But they weren't sued by anybody over in Japan for doing this. No. You know who sued them? Tonka, because they said GoBots and Orbots sounded too much like GoBots, and they thought people would get them confused. Which shows you how much faith they had in the kids to understand the difference between GoBots and Orbots.
Well, did they lose?
Of course they did. That's why there was never any merchandise or any toys or T-shirts and all kinds of crazy stuff that you always have with these things.
I don't know. It seems to me that the 80s was a wasteland of animation, or maybe, but I give you credit for like going into the nooks and crannies and like bringing up the most obscure stuff I've ever seen in my life.
Well, and there's one thing here. Let me see if I can get it going here. A little bit back before that. Champions of justice and truth. Okay, now this is the thing. As a kid, you don't pay attention to this stuff. But see, now as an adult, when I watch it, I notice certain things. It's like, what are you doing giving a robot soft feminine features and birthing hips? What is the Orbot commander doing with these robots when he's not out saving the universe?
It's a very complicated mess here that we're getting into, I think.
That's what I was saying. See, this is like I'm saying. You put this stuff into this, and it just goes over the kid's head. They have no idea. But as they don't, you're sitting going, wait a minute. Why does a robot have birthing hips? What is the point of birthing hips on a robot?
Well, it depends on who designed the robot, I guess. But the one right before that yellow girl there I thought it looked like Frankenstein Jr. And I thought, oh, these anime guys, they're just ripping all us Americans off. That's all it is. Repackaging it. I know what they're up to. It's not going to work on me.
Creative faith. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's not the kids that they underestimate. Maybe they overestimate the parents. Maybe that's what it is.
I'll tell you right now, I'd get confused. If I went to buy toys, I'd get confused between GoBots and Orbots or whatever the heck they were called. So I might be that guy.
They are. Blackjack called it GoBots were the Kmart Transformers. that's kind of what they were. But no, Mighty Orbots, number 3. I love the show. I was so sad when they canceled it, and I felt it was just wrong for so many reasons. You don't take out a show like that just because it has a name similar to yours. The Tonka was just mad that GoBots was never as popular as Transformers. That's all that was.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I heard of GoBots. I've heard of GoBots, so they can't be that obscure if I've heard of them. Now, Orbots, that's another story.
That's true. If Aaron's heard of it, it can't be that obscure because he doesn't follow anything that isn't like totally up in the mainstream that everybody knows.
That's exactly right. So,
but now we get to number 2.
Okay.
And
I don't know what to think anymore at this list.
This one, I like this one because again, I watched it as a kid, loved it, but now as an adult, I've actually thought up a way of making this song into a Wraith of God cartoon series intro. Using the same music. The music from this, I would use it in Wraith of God, and I would redo the lyrics, and it all works.
All right, let's see. Now you got me curious. You have piqued my interest beyond just the regular anime we've had here, going a little bit deeper. I like it. Unless, of course, this is anime. Of course it is.
And the star sharing you. Saber rider. And the star sharing in the sky. Can you hear the voices calling? Saber rider. Far away the world is calling. Saber rider. Your destiny will lead you to where the people need you. Oh, danger may have found you. You have your friends around you now. Now, Saber rider. And the star sharing you. Saber rider. And the star sharing the sky. Can you feel the thunder inside? Saber rider. Make the lightning crack as you ride. Saber rider. Your destiny will lead you to where the people need you. No danger may have found you. You have your friends around you now. Now, Saber rider. And the star sharing you. Saber rider. And the star sharing the sky.
And the Star Sheriffs. I like that little. Okay, that was the best song yet. I have to give you that. But
the whip crack makes the song. The whip crack that makes the song. It would not be the same without that whip crack. And what was that guitar solo? Was that a mandolin? Like electric mandolin? What was that? That was not your typical electric guitar. I love that.
Well, but it's still an anime import, so I'm going to give it thumbs down. But I did think the intro song was pretty groovy. So
and again, notice you saw in the clips they showed, people getting shot down and
a
nuclear explosion. I mean, these are big deal things. These are like normal kid fair type things you would expect in a cartoon aimed at kids. And yet, again, the Japanese, they do this. They know how to present stuff like that to kids and make it palatable.
That was, them getting blasted through the chest there with that black blood shooting out. I was like, wow, it's pretty edgy, even for the 80s.
Well, you're not alone in your pain, Aaron. There you go. Creative
April's always got my back. So that's it. No, I'm okay. Like I said, I'll give you the theme song on that one. Again, never heard of this.
You could easily rework those lyrics and make it for the Wraith of God.
Wraith of God.
The dark sheriff of his time. There it is. You see it right there. We just got the whole chorus right there.
Oh, if only I was even this much musically inclined, which I'm not at all. So,
well, that's why I said it's used the same music, just rework the lyrics, and then it's the same thing. And and you saw it had a sort of Western feel to it.
Yeah, it had that robot cowboy dude.
Yeah, the Saber Rider. That's what I'm saying. So I mean, it kind of works anyway. It all works. That's the great thing about it. That's why I love it so much. But
branched across all those different subject matter to draw in that big audience of kids seeking.
You got the Western, you got the sci-fi, you
big
got the
anime.
Yep, you got all of that. See, and again, that's like I said, this is how the Japanese work. That's why they were so successful for decades.
Well, I can't argue with that. They certainly were.
To me, this is the creme de la creme of all of them. It's like once you've done this song, it's like there's nobody's touching this. You can't beat this because this this one was actually done. And again, this is an extended version I found where they extended it into like a full-length song, like 3 minutes. Is they were able to do with this. And it's like, wow, that is amazing that you could take a kid show theme and make a song out of it. That is crazy. and yet they did it. And so we're going to get this going right here, and we'll.
You're building this up pretty big, so it better pay off now.
Well, again, I've watched them all. All these you saw, I've watched every single one. So I know all these shows, and I love this show. Again, just another one I love. It is a bit more esoteric, but again, that's just me. I'm the esoteric guy. And so here we go. The number one pick, my pick for the best cartoon theme song ever.
They're all in space.
Somewhere in the future, follow like a deer. Trouble is waiting on the last frontier. Into these worlds of unknown danger they ride. There's a galaxy of rangers here in the sky. No guts, no glory, no pain, no gain. One for all for one, riding on the rain. No guts, no glory, taking a stand, ready to prove it again. No guts, no glory. Somewhere in the future, following here, truthful is fading on the last frontier. Into these worlds of unknown danger they ride. That galaxy races still in the sky. No guts, no glory, no pain, no gain. One for all for one. The riders on the rain. No guts, no glory, taking a stand, ready to prove it again. No guts, no glory. Oh, somewhere in the future, following here, trouble is waiting on the last frontier. Into these worlds of unknown danger they ride. There's a galaxy of rangers here within the sky. No guts, no glory, oh, no pain, no gain.
Is this the full 3-minute song?
All for one, riders on the rain. No guts, no glory, yeah, taking a stand, ready to prove it again. No guts, no glory. No guts, no glory. No guts, no glory.
I feel like I just watched St. Elmo's Fire. Is that just me or?
Yes. No, but did you see the shredding in that guitar? That was just insane. It's like that's like rock guy. It's like arena rock stuff. It's like, what are you doing? This is supposed to be a show for kids, yet you're doing arena rock. That is insane. Who does that?
Yeah, that was something. That was a rockin' good intro.
I don't know. I don't think it was. But see, there it is. Marcus kind of makes the point. That sounds like something you'd hear in a Rocky movie, doesn't it?
Well, a lot. You know, the funny thing is, almost every one of these cartoons sounds so specifically 80s. You don't really think about it until you look back and go, "Oh my gosh." The 80s had a particular sound in music, 70s had a particular sound, the 60s, and it all sort of is reflective in all the pop culture as well. Because if you didn't have any idea what year these cartoons were. You could tell by the theme songs about at least what decade they were in.
Well, but like here it is right here. This guy, the memories of waking up before school every morning, watching this show while munching on a bowl of cereal. Man, they sure don't make cartoons like this anymore.
I'll say this about our anime friends. A couple of these shows looked very similar in terms of content. Like this, what were these? The Galaxy Rangers?
Galaxy Rangers.
And then who was the one right before that?
Saber Rider.
Yeah, but they all had like cowboy robot horses and stuff. I was kind of like, wait a minute, this looks.
This guy right here from 3 months ago pretty much nailed it for me. 2024 and still a banger song. And there you go. That's
it's still a banger.
It's still a bang. You can still rock out to that today. And that's the thing about it. That's the great thing to me about the 80s. Just so much awesome stuff like this. And even if it was derivative of something else, even if it was derivative of stuff that was going on at the time, it didn't matter. It was just all so cool. And it just like I said, these songs they drill into you, and you're like, oh my God, this is awesome. I gotta watch this. And that's how it was for me as a kid. That's why I said I saw them all. They hooked me with those awesome songs. I was like, I gotta watch this now. Now I have to watch. You've got me hooked.
No Scooby-Doo, no Johnny Quest, no Space Ghost. Come on, James. Jeez.
Oh, come on, Scooby-Doo isn't that great, and Johnny Quest, aside from Toth being the man behind the art, I mean, there's nothing really there either. I've watched the old Johnny Quest. They're not that great. The artistry is awesome. I love the artwork. The animation is beautiful. It's oh my God, it was ahead of its time. But like the stories, just not that good.
This is like me doing like that. This is like an older guy version of Home Alone. What? Are you insane?
It just wasn't all that. It was, I could see what it was going for. I could see what it was trying to do.
Oh my!
But I just don't think it just didn't hit. It just didn't hit for me.
Oh my gosh! Their theme songs were catchy. Come on, that Johnny Quest dun 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 dun. Come on now, that's like action adventure.
That's like 50s jazz. I mean,
Oh my gosh! All right.
And look, as far as Scooby-Doo, Blackjack nails it for me about Scooby-Doo right here.
I'm talking about the intro. Oh, the intro.
Intro. It was okay.
Oh.
It was okay. A little too hippie-esque for me, I guess.
Well, Chuck.
I'm not alone. Marcus notes it out to you. I'm not alone. Look who else.
Chuck. Let me tell you something about Chuck. Chuck has some very oddball tastes. Just when you think you can trust him, he comes out with a take like that, and you're like, Chuck, sorry, can't be friends anymore.
Well, you have people on your side too, Aaron. Here's Show Me Comics. He liked it. Creative Faye.
The Johnny. I'm going to do my own top 5 as a rebuttal to yours.
That's fine. That's not a problem. Hey, I said this is just mine. These are the ones. This is what I grew up with, and like I said, the stuff I love. And there was some stuff in there from the 70s. It wasn't all just like, it's all 80s. There was some stuff post 70s and post 80s, and then before. So I mean, I'm all over, but just for me, the 80s was the time. It just, there was the rockiness of the era, and just the feel of everything. It was always so like optimistic and upbeat, up tempo stuff. You always felt.
It was the Reagan years, so they were good times. I'm not arguing they weren't good times. I'm just saying. That's all.
You're saying, shut up, James. The 60s and 70s were the best.
That's what right. Oh my gosh.
But no, so there you go, folks. Some great intros to shows that some shows you might never even have heard of before, but yet you saw those intros, and you so you can understand why at least some kids like me wanted to see these shows, because those intros just like, whoa, totally rocking, totally like just in your face.
All right,
great stuff. But this isn't all we're going to do today. Since Aaron was so gracious to do this part with me, I'm going to do something that I know he will enjoy now.
All right.
This is something I saw my friend Pops talk about a couple days ago. He was talking about some low-priced key books that might be moving up in value soon because of the FF movie and Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom.
All right.
And he was talking about like some certain key issues that aren't that expensive right now that might be jumping up because if these movies are any good. So I thought that's a good idea. Maybe I could talk about that, but I don't want to talk about the big keys. You know, like everyone would say, like, you know, Fantastic Four '5, the first Doctor Doom, of course that's going to go up, you know. And you got the female Silver Surfer, so, you know, like, you know, the first Silver Surfer, the 48 through 50, those are all going to go up. The first Surfer in Galactus, of course they're going to go up. Of course they will. But I don't want to talk about the obvious ones. I'll talk about a few off the beaten path that are what I call minor keys. And I like super big books, but like they're big enough that they might get a bump because of the movies. And so we're gonna check in on some of those now. So let me share the screen here.
I'll definitely have an opinion on these.
Yeah, I know you will. That's why you're here. And we're gonna start it off right here with FF 296, the 25th anniversary issue, not just of the Fantastic Four, but of Marvel Comics. And this is the issue that brought the team back together if they had been broken apart without the 4 key members together for several years. So this brought them all back. You've got great art from guys like Barry Windsor-Smith, John Buscema, Ron Frenz, Al Milgrom, Klaus Janson. I mean, just like a horrid host of artists worked on this. And of course, you have a plot by Jim Shooter and a script by Stan the Man Lee. So, I mean, to me, this is like a book that people will be interested in because of what it represents, bringing the team together again, as well as the fact it's an anniversary issue, as well as you got all these great talents on it. And I think this is a book to watch because I think it's going to move up a little more than people might think it otherwise would. And I think this is going to be one of the ones to watch. What about you, Aaron? What do you think?
Well, I picked this one. I love this. I think it was it a month or a couple months where they did these square covers like this with the headshots in them. I love those.
Border with everybody. That was 1 month. It was dated November, but it came out July of '86. Was this?
Yes. And this, of course, Barry Smith cover, Barry Smith interiors. That's why I picked it up. I think very well you could see some movement on this book because of the cover, because it fits in with that whole month. There's a lot of good covers, but the one thing that I'm always weary about anything post 1980 is the availability in high grade, and I think there's a ton of these out there in high grade because everybody, when comics started going through comic shops, everybody started taking care of their books, and so it's harder to find, it's not as hard to find high grade copies of these books. However, I will agree with you. This is probably undervalued, and it's probably something you can get pretty cheap right now, and it's certainly worth taking a gamble on if you don't have it, because it's a great issue just in and of itself, and not that expensive at the moment. So there you go. So there's me in agreement with James.
That's what this is. All these picks I've pulled out are all ones I think people are sleeping on if they don't try to get one now while they are still relatively inexpensive, because I think most, if not all, these are going to get at least, if not like a super jump in value, at least a little bump if the movies come out and they don't totally suck.
No, they don't suck, which is always
that's always the key. That's the gamble part, yes. But another one we have from your good friend
Paul Ryan.
Paul Ryan, issue 381 of Fantastic Four. This is the one where Doom and Reed apparently die. And I think, again, considering what we're going to see with Doom and the Fantastic Four and all this stuff, that could be a key for something, with seeing the 2 main characters taken out. And this is someone I think people, again, another one's not very expensive. It doesn't cost a whole lot to get it, but it could be a key in the future because of the death factor of the characters involved.
This, I'm always wary of newer books. And by newer books, I mean, again, anything post 1980. This was probably pushing, 1990? Was this early 90s, maybe?
This is like 93, I think.
Yeah. So Paul had a really nice run on the FF. There was a lot of good stuff in there. Whether or not I mean, again, it's a cheap book, so you don't have anything to lose when you're talking about, potential investment. Again, I think it's harder for these books because the availability of them is so great and high grade. However, with, the events you're talking about taking place in the issue and the FF movie, again, if it's good and it gets good buzz as we get closer to release date, you very well could see the interest in these things rise.
Exactly. So, and next up, Silver Surfer Volume 2, Number 1, the one-shot issue by John Byrne and Stan Lee. Now you're saying, why this issue, James? Well, because we've all heard there's going to be a female Silver Surfer in the movie. And they're going to make that female Silver Surfer Shala Bal, which is Silver Surfer's girlfriend. This issue could be a sleeper to me because in this issue is the one where Mephisto brings her to Earth to try to torment the Surfer, but when he defeats him, he sends her back to Zenn-La. But before he does, the Surfer imparts a small bit of his cosmic power to her so she can bring life back to the planet of Zenn-La that was ravaged by Galactus after Silver Surfer betrayed him. And so this is the first cosmically powered Shala Bal. And so, again, if the movie is good and people like the female Silver Surfer, the Shala Bal, this issue could be a sleeper hit because this is the first time she has superpowers is in this issue of having cosmic ability. So I think this could be a sleeper hit that people are going to be sleeping on.
I think this is your best pick so far. I think this book is already undervalued just because of the talent involved in it. It's a Silver Surfer, as you said, John Byrne. I was unaware of the Shala Bal connection in this story because I don't know if I have this or not, but I'm glad you brought it up because I'm going to get one now. Because I would hate for this.
Folks, the value's already going up. Aaron's going to buy one.
But I think I'm there's a couple of these like Surfer one shots that I think are horribly undervalued, and I think this is one of them. Will it take off? I don't know, but I think as an investment potential at the price you could get it at, it's a no-brainer. Might as well. Plus, John Byrne, Silver Surfer. Come on. So
can't beat that. So up next, speaking of female Silver Surfers, Fantastic Four 244, the first Frankie Ray Nova, who basically is just a female Silver Surfer. She's got the silvery skin and she's got cosmic powers. She's the Herald of Galactus. It all still kind of works. Now, granted, she's not the Surfer, but again, for a character that is very Surfer-like and is actually a true female Herald of Galactus, the way she's going to be in the movie, again, this is another one I think could be a sleeper hit that people are sleeping on right now, that people aren't paying a lot of attention to it because, no one really thinks too much about the Byrne FF run anymore. And so this is an issue that could slide in under the radar, and all of a sudden, before you know it, oh, wow, this book used to be like $10, and now it's like $25. What happened? You see? Because I think, again, if the movies work out, this could be an issue that could move up in value.
Well, I think it's if you got a Galactus appearance, you've got this new Herald appearance on the cover here. Byrne. I think getting a book like this is a good idea, regardless if it takes off, because at some point you got to feel like a book like this would show some improvement. And again, you're going back to the 80s, so it's a little bit older. Again, same with all these books so far. Condition and availability are both high on all these books. But that doesn't mean, we see that all the time where books that are available seem to do really well. And so again, as a sleeper pick, I think this is a good pick. I think you're right on it, James.
Thank you very much. And we'll go on to the next one here. Now, this is Silver Surfer Annual 1. Now, again, you're saying, what's the big deal with this one? Well, it's not for the main feature you see here with the Surfer fighting the Super Skrull and the Eternals. That's not what it's for. There's a backup story in here that focuses on Frankie Ray Nova, her first solo story of Nova. And it also happens to be, just by coincidence, the first Silver Surfer-related artwork by Ron Lim. So I think for those reasons, this one also is another who could become a little bit of a sleeper because, again, it's Nova's first solo story of her own. She's not guest starring with the Fantastic Four. She's not guest starring with the Surfer. It's her story. And so it's kind of the focus is on her. And I think, again, that could be a little bit of something that could get people interested if the female Silver Surfer in the movie is well done and people tend to like that.
I think this is because of the reasons you just mentioned. I think this is a good book to have. It's one of those just in case things, it's a first, you got some firsts in it and, just on the offhand that it might take off at some point. And again, it's probably a very cheap book to get at the moment. And the cover's horrific. So that doesn't help it. But the interesting thing is, for some reason, annuals don't ever seem to respond, with the exception of Giant Size X-Men #1. Annuals don't really respond as well as issues from the regular series in the market, and I don't really understand that. A good example is if you take a look at this is an older book, Silver Age book, but it's FF Annual. Which one is it? #5, I think. With I've got it. I don't know why I can't remember what it is. But it has first appearance of Psycho Man in it. But it has a backup story, which is the first solo Silver Surfer story ever, is in it, and it has some value in near mint. It's like a $500 book, but you'd think first solo Silver Surfer story. Why isn't it worth more? And for some reason, those annuals don't seem to do as well in the marketplace. But again, you're looking at a book that's dirt cheap right now. I'm assuming. I haven't looked at the price guide on it.
None of these are very expensive. I'd say these are all like maybe $20 or less for everything.
So it's like, why not roll the dice on it? And because it does have, like I said, first Ron Lim Silver Surfer work in it, and this first solo story. So again, I don't think it's a bad bet.
I don't either. So, and I do agree. The cover is a little weak. They could have done something a little more dynamic, I think. And I think that's another thing that they do with if you notice in a lot of annuals, the covers are never usually that great compared to like what you see on the regular monthly series. I think
they almost always are sticking new guys in the annuals, right, to fill them out. That's where I got most of my work when I first broke in, and that stuff wasn't stuff I'm bragging about today. But hey, got to start someplace.
Very true. Now, this one, again, should be an obvious one for obvious reasons. You got Robert Downey Jr., who was Iron Man. He's now going to be Dr. Doom. What better than the ultimate Iron Man versus Dr. Doom issue 150 of Iron Man? You got John Romita Jr. on top with Rob Layton. You have Dave Michelini with the awesome story. And it's just Doom versus Iron Man. And it's just, so, like, again, because the thing they're talking about with Robert Downey Jr. is he Victor Von Doom? Or is he perhaps Tony Stark from an alternate timeline in the multiverse who becomes Dr. Doom? Or is it Victor Von Doom who transferred his mind into Tony Stark's body and now he controls Tony Stark's body? And so it's Victor Von Doom technically, but it's Tony Stark's body. All this stuff is going on. So it's like any kind of like clash when you get with these two, where you find an issue like this where it's the two of them at odds. It's definitely something I think people are going to be wanting to check into and invest much more into if the movies are any good.
This is got everything going for it. It's 150th issue, so it's kind of an anniversary issue, not a big anniversary issue like a 100th issue, but it still would be considered an anniversary issue. It's a black cover, so you're less likely to you're more likely to find covers with creases in it that show. So you get a high grade.
You can see right down here on the one that I found. Right there, you can see that little crease in the bottom corner.
Yep. And then you got Doom facing off with Iron Man. So everything about this,
one of the most iconic Iron Man covers ever done.
Yeah. So this got a lot going for it. Again, this would have been probably mid 80s. 75 cents.
No, I think early 80s, like 80.
Oh yeah, because it's a double issue, right? So this goes back a ways. Interestingly enough,
80 or 81, I think, is where this is at. So it's like very early 80s.
Interestingly enough, I picked up not too long ago Iron Man #100, which has a Jim Starlin cover and has big 100 behind Iron Man, and that's a book that, just because of the Starlin cover and just because it's the 100th anniversary issue, is a collectible book. It's about $100. This 150, so this is 4 or 5 years later, but still early 80s. I think this has potential as well. Iron Man has never been a great collector book, with the exception of Iron Man #1, which for some reason is, out of all the 1968 titles, that's the one that's worth the most. But this Dr. Doom crossover makes this an interesting book to get in on. And again, I agree with you. I think it has potential.
And I like Black Jack's comment here. That's John Romita Jr. before he started giving everyone 5 o'clock shadow. And it's like, well, I think that'd be kind of hard to do with guys who are wearing metal masks over their face. It's kind of hard to show a 5 o'clock shadow when you're wearing a metal helmet.
Exactly.
But since this one that we both agree is one that will go up, I'm thinking this is also another one to watch, is the Iron Man 250, where they got together again with him and Doom. Whereas in 150 they went into the past and saved Camelot. Here they go to the future to save Camelot. And this one has a little extra something special in Doom finds out Tony Stark is Iron Man in this issue. But here's the kicker. The way they were brought wasn't by science as they were in 150, which was like the time platform sent them back in time. That was science. This was done through magic with Merlin. And Merlin had told them the way the magic works is you cannot take back with you anything you didn't bring with you. So when they went into the future, anything they brought with them was theirs, but anything they learned in the future, they don't get to take back with them. So Doom learns who he is, and then they get sent back, and now he doesn't. But if you watched the issue, if you read it like I did, at the end when Iron Man takes off, Doom is just standing there with just like this almost perplexing look on his face, like, and so you kind of wonder, did he really forget? Because don't forget, Doom does occult stuff too. Did he cast some spell on himself so that he would be protected, so that he wouldn't forget? Or is it like locked up in his mind somewhere, or what? So I think this issue could be kind of a little bit of a key too, again, with the whole Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, Dr. Doom whole thing. And then you got, I said, the fact of this could be the issue where Doom learned Iron Man with Tony Stark. And so if it turns out that like Doom has put his mind into Stark and taken him over, this could be an issue that could get a little heat on that, because this is where he learned for the first time that Tony Stark was Iron Man.
That's an excellent observation, because a lot of this all comes down to what exactly are they using in the movie and where are they drawing it from. And, there's a lot of different avenues that they could go at this point. And this is certainly one of them, because it makes perfect sense. If you have Doom possessing the body of Tony Stark, this could be end up being considered a key if it's where he learns Iron Man is Tony Stark. And just from a reader standpoint, this is, Camelot, you got Merlin in there. I'm already intrigued. So I don't, you haven't brought up one yet, James, that I would disagree with. I think these are all pretty good choices for, speculating, because your investment in them is not a great deal to begin with. So you really don't have anything to lose. And they all look like they're pretty interesting stories.
And so again, and I agree with you, the whole thing, it's really, a lot of this is based on the speculation of what are they going to do with Robert Downey Jr. as Doom. Like I said, is he the Victor Von Doom that we all know? Or is he Tony Stark possessed by Von Doom? Is he Tony Stark from an alternate timeline who has become Dr. Doom? There's all these possibilities. So there's all these issues you got to think about. Like, it could be this, it could be that. And in that vein, here we got another one. This is issue 278 of Fantastic Four. This is the retelling of Doom's origin. And on top of that, it's where the kid Kristoff gets his mind implanted with Doom's memories and thoughts. And so basically the engrams of Doom's mind are put over his, and he becomes Dr. Doom. So if it turns out Tony Stark had Doom do that to him in the movie, this could be an issue that people will want to pick up, because here it is Doom doing it to somebody else.
I think any Doom crossover is always or appearance is always a decent bet, because he's such a popular character and arguably Marvel's most popular villain. So and it's a burn issue. Again, a lot of this stuff is laid dormant for quite some time, but there has been for now a couple of years. You've seen growth in Doom appearances, even before they were speculating on the movie. And now that people are speculating on the movie, any one of these could be something to keep an eye on and potentially invest in. Because again, you're getting into these books right now is pretty darn cheap.
Yes. And again, going with the whole, could this be Tony Stark of an alternate timeline who is now Von Doom? And this is Avengers The Crossing one-shot special, which, a lot of people consider to be a very horrible story, because in this one, Iron Man turns traitor and he kills Yellow Jacket, not Hank Pym, the female Yellow Jacket who took up the costume and then went into the future with the Guardians of the Galaxy for a while. And then she comes back in time because she gets information there that she wants to tell to Hank Pym to save his life. And when she goes to Avengers Mansion, Iron Man kills her, because he has been being messed with by Kang and some others, and they've been doing it to him for years. So it's been a long-term plot. This is totally going on. So Iron Man goes bad in Avengers: The Crossing, and so if this is Iron Man is Von Doom now, well, that means he's Iron Man gone bad. And so this could be an issue that people might get some interest in because of the aspect of turning a hero to a villain.
So this is obviously 90s. I can tell by looking at it. I have never seen this book before. Crazy. Is that got a foil?
It is a foil enhanced cover. Yes.
Interesting. I don't know what this what the interest in this book is at the moment, just because of, are we getting a little bit more? Does this have a little more collector's traction because of the foil on the cover and it's a special thing?
I mean, it made it a more expensive issue. It's got like the fancy cover, of course. I believe it's an oversized issue. It's not just a usual like 22-page pamphlet. It's thicker, so you got more story. But like I said, the key in it is in Avengers, and you don't know it at first. At first, he's in shadow in here, so you don't really see him. But once you go through the story that went through Iron Man and Avengers and Force Works at the time, if you read through that storyline, The Crossing, this is where it begins, and you find out that the one that kills Yellow Jacket is indeed Iron Man. So this issue where he does it, this is where Iron Man goes bad. And so it's kind of like, to me, like kind of, if it turns out that the Iron Man, the Doom in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Iron Man, if it is Tony Stark, well then that's Tony Stark gone bad, and here it is, he goes bad here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a 90s book, which we had such inflated print runs on these books that it's probably pretty easy to find. But then again, considering I've never seen it before, maybe it's not as widespread as I would think, just coming from that era. Again, you're probably talking about, I have no idea because I'm completely unfamiliar with this book, but my guess is it's probably not that expensive at the moment. And certainly something that's wouldn't be a bad idea if it requires a cheap investment, just, on the outside chance that maybe there's that connection between Stark in the movie and, what happens here in this book.
Well, here's Creative Faye coming in. I think we're giving them too much credit. It could just be cast. They could just be casting actors that they have contracts with. That's true. But again, and everything I've read about it is they went to him. He didn't come to them. He didn't have a contract at that moment, and they came to him saying, "We need you back." So I mean, they wanted him for this. And when he did his reveal, he says, he goes, the armor has changed, but the mission is the same, or something like that. And so if that's the case, is he talking about Iron Man involvement? So I mean, again, these are things you have to think about when you're doing this kind of stuff, when you're speculating like this.
You got to assume with the Russo brothers involved that it's probably going to be a fairly decent movie, and they're going to put some thought into it and not just pump out crap, because they have the best track record of anybody doing Marvel movies, in my opinion. So, I don't know that they would just, I hope they didn't get Robert Downey Jr. just because he's Robert Downey Jr., but they have a bigger purpose in mind for him. Because it's pretty hard to take somebody as iconic as he has in the role of Iron Man and then have everybody expect to accept him as a different character in the same, universe as it is. So you would think they're aware of that, and they're going to do something in the storyline that it makes sense that.
Well, again, and that's where speculation comes in on some of this stuff like this. Is it Tony Stark from an alternate timeline who is going evil and he's become Dr. Doom? And if that's the case, well, here's Tony Stark going evil.
Right.
And that could be something that could make this a more valuable. And again, we're talking timelines. The conclusion to that story basically was like this, called Avengers Time Slide. And they bring a young Tony Stark into the present to battle the current Tony Stark, who's been corrupted. And this is Tony before he's corrupted. So again, if we're talking about Iron Man from another timeline, another alternate reality, we can have, again, this is another one that could fall into that same prospect as the Crossing issue does, where you got multiple Tony Starks and stuff.
The trick to investing in comics, of course, is trying to get ahead of the curve. You can always buy the stuff that's already, established and has some value and probably will increase in value, but those usually are pretty expensive investments. And so the trick is always trying to figure out the books that might take off. And there's only two ways to do that. And that's like if you buy everything that comes out, so eventually something you bought is going to hit, or you do what you're doing here, James, and picking out books that may or may not have a connection to something that's going to make them go if it hits right. And so again, I think, your reasoning here is pretty decent, pretty sound, in that, again, a cheap book that could possibly turn into something. So, it's certainly worth, I'm sure whatever the investment in this book would, I can't imagine probably more than $10,
No.
might be worth the roll of the dice.
And again, in that same vein, here's one more. This is the final clash of Iron Man gone bad versus the new young Iron Man brought to stop him. And so this is their battle. And so again, it's Tony Stark basically kind of fighting himself. And again, it's just you got two armored guys going at it. And again, you could see something like that in the Doom movie, or even in the Fantastic Four movie, if Doom is in it, because they're probably going to have some cameo of him somewhere in there. And so, this is another one. Again, just it could be a sleeper because, again, it's Iron Man goes bad and he battles somebody in armor. And so, I mean, it just kind of has that feel of like, it could go. It's if they're doing stuff in a certain way, if they play this in a certain way and use certain, tropes in that certain way, it could set this off, and this could be an issue people would want to get, because it's, again, Iron Man goes bad and fights an armored person, and
regardless, I like this cover a lot. I like that green lighting coming in there, that kicker lighting from the energy on his hand. The anatomy is kind of just funky enough to be interesting. And that's Jim Calafiore, isn't it?
Yeah, Jim Calafiore, yes.
Yeah, so I might pick this up just because I like the cover, and because it is a really interesting cover. I really like that.
Yes, and this is the full cover, front and back. It's a wraparound.
Right, wraparound. Yeah, I dig that. I haven't seen that before.
Be remiss, of course, if you didn't say, again, with the movies, the origin of Galactus, Marvel Saga number 24. I mean, that awesome cover image by Bob Layton, with Big Daddy G there, and just again, when people think of the origin of Galactus, they may go for issue like 49 and 50 of FF. Those are the big ones. The first time it's told, this is sort of a retelling, but it's a more involved retelling, because this is that Marvel Saga series where, like, they delve into little crevices and bring out little bits and stuff that you didn't know about before, that wasn't shown in the original origin story. Where they try to add a few more layers onto things to make it more interesting and more dynamic than you can probably get in, like, when you're doing like an issue like, say, the FF50, where you're like trying to cram in, oh, here's the Galactus battle, and we got the Surfer going bad on him, and we got all this, and oh yeah, we'll try to throw in a couple panels of Galactus's origin. And it's like, well, okay, technically that's his first origin story right there, but this like delves into it deeper, a more deeper dive into Galactus. And I think for that reason, again, this is another one. It's a book, Marvel Saga. Nobody cares about this book. These like the stuff $1 and $2 bins are made of, and so you could probably grab a very nice copy of this. And again, it's the full origin of Galactus, and again, if the movie hits and people love the FF and the way they handle Galactus in there, this could be another sleeper that ends up moving up the charts.
The interesting thing about collectors, what eventually happens is, if you go and they say, okay, I want to get the origin of Galactus, and you go back to, like you said, FF 48 and 49, it's too expensive for 95% of the collectors out there. So they're not going to go into that. Then you go into maybe the Thor issues in the late 60s where Galactus guest starred, and they have his origin. Those still are between $300-$400 books, depending on the condition they're in, maybe up to $500. And so still not that cheap. Then you can start looking at books in the 70s or 80s where you've got that same thing, and collectors will move into those eventually because they're affordable. And then when people start moving into those books, that's when they go up in price. So I think this is Marvel Saga, like you said, is a nowhere title. But the fact that you've got a Galactus cover like this and a detailed Galactus origin in it makes it interesting, and certainly one that you could pick up dirt cheap. So you're not going to be out anything getting in on it.
And of course, if you can do that with Galactus, you got to be able to do it with the Surfer.
Man, I didn't realize Marvel Saga actually had some decent stuff in there. I never really paid attention to this book.
Yes, this is again. This is another sleeper. The origin of the Silver Surfer. So I mean, just a key type of thing, but retold in a time when we already knew the basics of the origin. And again, they add little bits in here and there. Let's pump it up. Let's go a little more in depth. Parse it out a little more. Give you some more stuff to add it in that you didn't know, and make it more interesting that way. And again, it just it's again, and that image, that cover, that's just you can't beat that cover. That just
No,
the
that's
cover
a really
alone.
good.
Someone would want to buy that just to get that cover. You'd want to buy that issue.
Yep. That's a strong image. Back when they used to remember how to do covers. Yeah, that's something that I would think the cover image alone. And again, you've got right now everything Galactus and Silver Surfer is getting looked at. I mean, everything is. So, and you got a cover like this, the strong image like this, that that's a safe bet, man. That's Art Adams. They said Arthur Adams inked by Lealoa.
Yeah.
I thought that Galactus head looked familiar to me, but it doesn't look as much like Arthur Adams because
Lealoa's inks.
Yeah, Lealoa's inks is not doing a traditional ink job over what you'd expect with Arthur. But that's it. That even makes it more interesting now that's a Arthur Adams cover. Very cool.
So yeah, there we go, folks. That's all the ones that I found. Like these are all very low key books. Probably spend less than $20 on any one of them. Probably even less than $15 on any of them. And you can get a very nice, high quality copy. And it'd be dirt cheap now. And who knows, in a few months here with this stuff, it could blow up. And then suddenly now, hey, look at this. We got this awesome book, and I bought it for like $5, 6 months ago, and now it's worth $35.
Yep, it's a way to do it. Well, James, I am over. I got to get out of here, man. But
okay, well, before you head out there, Aaron, I want to do one last little thing here with you, and I want to thank Aaron for joining me today, taking time out of his very busy schedule, and I want to do a little shill for Aaron because again, he was very gracious to come on today. So I want to tell all you guys out there, if you haven't done so yet, please do now. Go out and back Kit Carter, Planet Doom graphic novel. It's how many pages is it now?
66 pages. The hardcover has got the 10-page gallery in it, so the hardcover is 78 pages. But this book is with the title page and the copyright page. Of course, it's 68 pages, but 66 pages of story. So
yes, I backed the soft cover with the sketchbook add-on, and as you can see here, folks, if I scroll down a little further here, you can see some great art from the book here. Just you can see, look at that detail, look at that, the color, the shadows, just beautiful work. I mean, and to me, this kind of reminds me a little of, like, say, Buck Rogers, the Gil Gerard series, as far as its tone. From what I get, yeah. It's serious in the fact that she's facing real threats, but there's a humor and campy component to it to have a little fun while you're doing it.
Yep, that's exactly
and
right.
So here's the great back cover to the book by the great Dan Lawless, doing his homages to Barbara Eden, as he always does. Here's a great Gary Martin aping on Frazetta.
Yep.
And then as we get down here, you can see here's the movie poster Aaron he has. You can see if you look back there behind him a little bit, you can see that he has that right there, the great movie poster he created for this. You got your laser etched shot glasses, folks. And then of course we have all our unlocked stretch goals of an Imperius trading card, a Power Blaster trading card, Lord Menace trading card, Mr. Midnight trading card, and an Empire Comics box sticker for your comic book box, so you can stick it right on the front and know this is where I'm going to keep all my Aaron Lopresti books from now on.
There you go. That's exactly what it is.
And so we get right up here and we see right here, folks, he's less than $500 away from 130,000, and he's less than 60 people away from breaking 1,700 backers. We can do that. We got about 30 hours left in the campaign, Aaron?
More or less, yeah. I think we're going to wrap it up midnight tomorrow. So
there you go, folks. You got less than a day and a half. Get on over there. Back it now. I got it linked down there below in the description section for anybody who hasn't backed it yet. Use that link. Head on over. Back Kit Carter Planet Doom. Again, it's just classic, like, sci-fi humor and action. It's stuff you don't see anymore, just like all the stuff you saw here today you don't see anymore. This is the good stuff. So go ahead and help Aaron out, and break this over 130, folks. We can do that. It's only $500 away. We can do that. Just get it over 130,000 for Aaron, and make it a winner for him.
Thank you very much, James. I appreciate you inviting me on, and congratulations on getting to 200, and 500's next, man. So keep working it.
Yeah, let's slow the roll. It took me 4.5 years to get to 200. Let's slow the roll. We're at about 500 right now. Let's
speed up the process, man. So
let's just enjoy the moment of 200 while we can, and then we'll work from there. But yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me. Thanks, everybody in the chat. We'll see you guys later. Appreciate it.
Take her easy, Aaron.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, and so there you go, folks. There we had our guest, but that's not all. We're not done yet. I got one other thing left here for you that maybe I was going to do with Aaron if he was able to stick around longer, but he had to go. So I'm going to share with you something from my past involving comics, of course, that I was involved in that none of you really know. Only a handful of people know this story. I was involved in an issue of Playboy Comics. I mean, not comics, but Playboy magazine back in early 2000. And I got in the book without writing a letter about my sex life to them or having my wife pose for pictures. So this has got to be that's crazy. It's almost impossible to do that. So I'm going to get it for you right here. And this is the issue, the April of 2000 issue with Bijou Phillips on the cover. And if you're wondering, how did you get in this magazine, James, without any of the usual stuff you expect when doing a Playboy thing? It's from this right here. A story called Holy Drug War, Batman, where writer Joshua Green did a story about comics tackling the topic of drugs and drug abuse. And I got in this because I was a reference source for him. He had contacted me, pretty much out of the blue. He told me he was with Playboy. I'm doing this story on drugs, drug abuse in comics and how they, deal with that and things like that. And he asked me for reference books. And so I gave him all this stuff. I said, Amazing Spider-Man 96 to 98, Batman, Legends of the Dark Knight, 16 to 2021, the Venom storyline. I point out Green Lantern, Green Arrow number 85 and 86. I point out all these books that were connected to the drug issue. And if I show you this right here in the story, this right here, that was the copy of the book I owned at the time. Now remember, this is back in 2000, so I still have my original comic collection that I had spent years building that I ended up having to sell in 2010. But this issue was one that I owned, and it was my copy because he asked me for a scan of it. And so I sent that to him, and so he got to check that out. The only thing about it is, and after I got them, I was excited at first. I'm like, wow, I got my book in a Playboy issue, and oh my God, I was a reference source. This is awesome. But the thing is his whole story is how comics don't treat the drug addiction epidemic as a serious thing. And it's but it's superhero comics. They're not there to preach messages like that. At least they're not supposed to be, and we know today that's what they do, and that's why they suck and nobody buys them. But back then, that's not what they were for. They were basically action adventure tales. And he talked about, how, Green Arrow went out and beat up the pushers that got Speedy hooked on drugs, and how Batman, holed himself up, in his cave to get over, beating drugs. He did it all by himself. He didn't need any help. He didn't ask for any assistance. And it's but he left out certain key aspects, which is Batman did have assistance. He had Alfred helping him. And yes, while Green Arrow did go out and beat up the pushers that gave Speedy the drugs, what he didn't talk about was in that same story, we saw a moment with Speedy where he was suffering from withdrawal symptoms, and he was being helped by Black Canary. So it did show that you do need help sometimes with this stuff. But this is the thing, he came in with it. He goes, this sort of comic exaggeration doesn't teach kids anything useful about the risks of drugs or explains why people take them, or distinguishes relatively benign drugs such as marijuana from narcotics. Invariably, comics portray drug users as threats to the public safety who, like any worthy villain, rain death and destruction. Because they are bad guys, users are dealt with accordingly. Violence solves everything. Tough love isn't supposed isn't support and treatment, it's a baseball bat. The problem of addiction is framed as a shameful moral failing to be dealt with alone and in private. With a kid, what kid is going to ask for help with drugs if Batman tells him it's for pussies? You know, and so he kind of basically says that, you know, that they don't treat it in the serious way it should. It's like, but these are superhero comics. They're not PSAs. They're not, you know, an informational packet on how to deal with a drug problem. This is meant to be entertainment first and foremost. And so, yeah, they're going to focus on the drug dealers, and they're going to focus on kicking their butts, you know, for putting the poison out there. Yes, that's what they're going to do, because that's what superheroes are for. It's a power fantasy, you know, and the power, you want the power to be able to kick the butt of anybody who you know is doing the bad stuff. And that's what you do with a superhero book. So I was very disappointed after I got it, because I didn't realize that that's the tack he was going to take with his story. Because if he did, I probably wouldn't have wanted to help him. But you know, just wanted to give you guys a little something there. It's a little story from my past, something that happened to me. You know, I was involved in an issue of Playboy without, you know, telling about the details of my sex life or having my wife pose, and that's a pretty amazing thing to get done today. So, you know, you couldn't imagine that happening to you, you know, if you tried back in the day there. So, but that's just a little something if you have it, you know. And if you guys are interested, again, it's the April 2000 issue of the book with Bijou Phillips on the front cover. And so if you want to check it out for yourself, read the article and all that, please do, and just check that out. But I want to thank you all for joining me today. I think we're going to call it good here. I thank you all for joining for this little celebratory thing. I hope you had some fun with this, you know, seeing some cool cartoon intros, some cool comics and whatnot. And again, I want to also thank my my partner in crime here, my guest, Aaron Lopresti, for taking time out to spend with me. And I thank all of you who joined me, Blackjack and Marcus, Levi Skeen, Creative Faye, you know, Comics for Me. You know, all you guys, I was glad to have you here. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you had some fun, because I know I certainly did. And I'll be back with some more stuff soon. I'll be doing a What's in the Box sooner than later. I have a package I'm expecting probably next week. So they'll probably have that there. And, of course, I'll try to get another Why It's Great rolling. Again, links to those are down in the description below if you want to check my past efforts on these. The new content I've been pumping out around here. So I appreciate that, and you can check some of those out. I just did a Why It's Great just a couple days ago, Daredevil 238, the Mutant Massacre tie-in issue with a great cover by Art Adams and Klaus Janson. Second issue in the run of the great Ann Nesenti, her classic run, and so it's right at the very beginning. So yeah, go check that out. And you know, just if you guys got any comments or things you want to throw down here, throw some comments down there below of what you saw here. You know, I want to hear what you guys got to say. If you have any suggestions for some books I might want to do for Why It's Great, hit me up with those, or you know, whatever else is on your mind. I want to hear what you guys got to say, and please be sure to drop some likes on this channel, so on this stream if you liked it, so you can help the algorithms. We always appreciate that here. And please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Like I said, I've just finally broke 200. Let's do what Aaron says and try to get it to 500 a little sooner than 4.5 years. Let's try to make that happen. I'd appreciate that very much. But I thank you all for joining me today. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too, and I will be back soon with some more stuff. And until next time, take care.